Hey guys, welcome back. This is Donna with Holistic Wellbeing. Thank you so much for joining me here on day 458 of doing these lives. Very delighted to be here as always, just to bring you some additional insights on things that you can actually do at home to help you as you are following your daily routine. So welcome, Miss Wanda. Thank you for joining. So this evening, hi Okino, how are you? Welcome and thank you for joining. So this evening, what I'd like to do is speak on the topic of worry and stress. I spoke on that a little bit yesterday, but I also said to you guys that I'm sure many of you are not going through stress. You don't understand what stress looks like. And what I did yesterday was I spoke on the topic and then slowly merged my way into speaking about what it does for your breath and how it limits and restricts your lungs from functioning in a way that it's supposed to, because now you're in a point of what people call anxiety, and then the heart starts to take over and things start to run real fast and you're wondering, why is my heart just not slowing down? And that's because of the excessive stressful moments that you place on yourself, right? Also spoke about yesterday how it's self-induced. You know, a lot of times we place ourselves in situations that we can actually avoid. I know, yes, Donna, it's easier said than done. You don't understand what I'm going through. I hear all those things coming through your mind right now. But I have to tell you that a lot of times the situations that you place yourselves in oftentimes generate that extra flow of breath where it's speeding up your heart rate and you're wondering, why am I feeling so overwhelmed? So what I did yesterday as well, I think a lot of you enjoyed that, is I spoke on how one particular food item that you can actually do to help to eliminate the cause of asthmatic. I don't know if you're an asthmatic person or you have someone in your circle that is, but I showed you a salad that I made and tried to get you to guess what was in the salad. And some of you are giving me some great responses, and I just thought it was extremely funny. But what was funny enough is the same salad, I actually showed it to a friend of mine after I got off the air, and she too was not guessing what that other item was. The one that you guys were calling cottage cheese and chicken and this and that. She was also naming some additional things. So very creative, I must tell you guys. But in any event, today I'm going to speak on worrying. What does worrying cause? What does worrying about things, where does that place you in life? Does that benefit you, or does it negatively impact the way that you are, your current existence, where you are in the things that you're trying to accomplish and get done? Where does it put you, right? Where does it put you? So here I want to talk about a couple of negative emotions that you're probably very, very familiar with, okay? And when I say these words, I want you to just take a moment to figure out, not a long moment, right? Make it very short. What is the very first thing that comes to your mind when I mention these words, okay? They may sound familiar to you. Maybe you're going through some of these times right now. Maybe this was something previous that you were going through. I don't know. But when you hear the word in your mind, just the first thing that comes to mind, I want you to just take a mental note of. So when you hear the word sadness, what does that ring a bell for? What types of things float up in your spirit when you hear that? How about fear? When you hear the word fear, what does that touch on? Okay, gloom. How about the word anger? When you hear the word anger, what is the very first thing that comes to your mind? Negative energy. Miss Wanda, thank you for participating. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, so how about disgust? Disgust. When you hear the word disgust, what does that ring? What kind of bell does that ring for you? And then the last one is surprise. When you hear surprise, what bell does that ring for you? Surprise. And these are a few negative emotions. So surprise is okay. That probably dissatisfied was probably disgust, right, Wanda? And surprise. So basically, those were a few negative Okay, caught off guard. Gotcha. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Wanda, for participating. So, negative emotions, we often hear all of these terms, and I want to caution you that a lot of times you'll have people in your space that aren't necessarily dealing with these items very well. So, what tends to happen, and throughout many of my lives, I've spoken about this, more people gravitate to the negative than the positive. They don't know how to really pull themselves out of it and stand alone and stand in a great space. Because the great space, guys, is what actually helps you to heal. All right. When I say heal, I'm talking about emotional healing, physical healing. What you actually think about comes about. All right. And you will find out that it places an adverse effect on your body. So a lot of the physical pain that you're going through and the mental pain that you're going through, it's as a result of your thought process. So until we curtail these negative emotions, we're not going to be on the right track, so to speak, to giving our body the healing mechanism that it needs. So be very, very cautious of that. So why is it so hard to stop worrying, right? I know it's easier said than done. So many people are talking about the word anxiety. You know, my anxiety is kicking up. My this is kicking up. Well, whoever told you about anxiety? Whoever placed the word anxiety in your space to allow you to freely use that terminology in the times that you're having of, should I say, opportunity, not necessarily weakness, because that's the same word I usually use. I try not to use the word weakness, but the opportunity times that you have, a lot of people often fall back on this word anxiety because it's almost like a crutch for them. I don't know if they feel like when they fall back on the word anxiety, it's going to help pick up their spirits, right? Or is it going to help to put them in, like you said, Miss Wanda, a gloomy state of mind, right? So that's something to think about. So anxious thoughts are fueled by beliefs. A lot of times what people are taught at a very young age and as they grow and mature into life, are most of the thoughts that they have are things that people tell them that they are, or tell them that they should be, right? Or tell them what they will never amount to. So people tend to take this information and it follows them year after year after year throughout their life, and to the point where it's now embedded in their mind. So this is the belief that they have for themselves. It's not something that they freely constituted a whole thought process and recognize where they are, think about the gifts that they have, decided what their future is going to look like, and take all of that into a nice equation and determine where they want their space in society to be, right? So it's not so easy as that equation I just spoke about. They now pull the beliefs that they have from before and they have it just buckling up on top of one another. And it's causing this depressive mode that they're in, this downward spiral that they're in, right? So be very, very conscious of the things that you are, the beliefs that you've had from way back when. Be very, very conscious of the things that people are telling you right now in the circles that you're in. The circles that you're in, if it's not conducive to your mental growth, I would just encourage you to pull yourself out of it. There is, unfortunately, and I have to speak to this because this is happening more frequently every single day. There's so many people these days that are not in a good space. And what they do is they have to see other people's whole aura crumble right in front of their eyes. And how they do that, they will be very manipulative towards that person. They try to be very convincing with their beliefs, which aren't often the right beliefs. And they're literally, with their mind, tearing people apart, piece by piece. And what happens is you have those individuals that are very vulnerable and they don't know how to curtail those thoughts for themselves. Hi, Angie. Welcome, dear. They don't know how to curtail those thoughts for themselves. So because their mind is not as strong as someone else's mind, now all of a sudden, this bully, so to speak, is terrorizing someone that is not as strong and allowing them to feel and believe that they're someone that they're not, right? So guys, if you're in a space that you feel is not conducive to your mental growth, your emotional growth, your physical growth, I'm going to encourage you to pull yourself out of that space. When I say space, I'm referring to groups, right? As you can already see, this is a very social environment. And with everything that we are being asked to do right now, right? It's becoming a big challenge for people. This thing called social distancing. It's a tough decision that people are making right now. And the reason I say that is because no man can stand alone and stand alone very strongly, because they feel that whatever their worth is, whatever their thoughts are, their strengths, their beliefs is not powerful enough to be able to withstand, right, the support that they will receive in the groups that they're in. So the groups that you are a part of, pull yourself out of it if it's not conducive to your own mental growth. All right. And if you're being invited to join groups, put it in prayer. Take it to prayer and ask God first to give you guidance. Because if the group is not going to be for your benefit, and it's going to be for the benefit of the people in the group, then you should automatically know that you don't belong there. All right. So I don't know how I got segued on that particular piece, but I wanted to address that because that's happening so frequently these days. Individuals are not being very supportive of one another. It's a selfish world that we live in. I'm actually pretty pleased that people are asked to just stay in their own corner. In Jamaica, we have a term, it's to hold your corner, right? I'm really glad that people are being asked to hold their corner, because it's a time for everyone to really reflect and understand how to treat one another and how to be there in support of one another. It's not about you. It's not all about you. You're placed on this earth to be here for someone else, right? So I'm going to encourage you that while you have this time at home, to use it as a self-processing time, a time to reflect on who you are as an individual, a time to reflect on what have you condoned as an individual, right? Because maybe your beliefs weren't strong enough to place you above whatever people are sharing that they think you are, when that's not who you are, all right? Use it as a time to be very proactive as far as planning. Maybe there's things that you're supposed to be getting done and you haven't been getting them done. Now is the time to go back and get these things done. But unfortunately, guys, I have to tell you that when this is all said and done, this is a long road. I'm here to tell you, I don't know what you're hearing from people telling you, oh my gosh, give it about 2 more weeks. We're on a long road, all right? So when you come out of this, I'm going to be asking people what you actually accomplished after the fact. What did you get done while you were in that little incubation mode and you were asked to stay put and stay still? Sometimes God has a way of just reorganizing the pieces of the puzzle so that we can have some time to reflect on Him and what is His purpose for us. All right. So this is a great moment, a great position that you are all in. So use it wisely and make sure that you are understanding. If you're just joining me, I'm speaking on the topic of stress, worrying, what worrying cause. So use it in a positive way to help you progress through additional things that you'll have to face in the future, and so you'll now know how to handle them better, right? So here are some things to keep in mind about positive beliefs about worrying. Is there such a thing as positive beliefs about worrying? Well, worrying does not help you avoid bad things, first of all. What worrying does is it just keeps you in a space that it doesn't give room for you to now figure out what is it that I'm supposed to be doing. What are the steps I'm supposed to be taking to resolve in a particular situation, right? Worrying does not prevent the problem. The problem is still going to come, whether you want it or not. Remember, sometimes things come for us that we consider problems as an enlightenment mode to help us take a different route, right? And develop and strengthen our character from the person that we are into the person that we need to be. All right. It does not prepare us from having worse situations to happen, or necessarily lead us to solutions. Anything that's going to happen in our lives is going to happen whether you like it or not. The question is when, right? So how do we prepare our minds and our spirit to properly place us on the right pathway to prepare us mentally for these things that are coming? So it's not a matter of when it's, if that happens. No. All right. So really, I want you to really keep that in mind. Here's a myth, right? People will say this otherwise, but this is a myth. Worrying about a problem long enough will allow me to eventually be able to figure it out. Do you think that's true? Well, if you worry about something for 5 months, 6 months, a year, but you notice what's happening, all you're doing is worrying. You're using all of this, right? Nothing physically is taking place. You're just worrying and worrying and worrying and worrying. Exactly, Wanda. It's not going to solve anything, because guess what? You're not placing anything physically in action on paper that you need to get done. So worrying does not solve the problem, okay? It doesn't make the situation any clearer. All it does is cloud up your thought process and make things even more confusing. So be very concerned about that. Worrying also does not ensure that you overlook something. You're worrying and you're worrying and you're worrying and you're worrying. You're so busy worrying, you're not worrying about the fact that, okay, did I really look at the situation? Did I overlook something? Did I add this fact? Did I factor this in? Did I factor that? You're not thinking about the good side of things, because you have now overwhelmed your thought process with things that is inundated and taken over your mind, right? So worrying also does not create any solution, right? It doesn't create any solution to the problem. It doesn't solidify anything with the whole situation that you're faced with. So now you're faced with a situation. I'll give you an example. We have this whole thing called the coronavirus, right? And nobody knows who has it or who doesn't, right? It's asymptomatic. Sometimes people are going through and life is peachy, but they don't know what they're walking around with. So now all of a sudden things start to set in, because you see that the masses, it's starting to improve and increase and increase. And you're wondering, okay, so where was I before? Who was I with? What did I do, right? Now you get into a phase, and I'm giving you this as an example. Now you're getting into a phase that you're seeing individuals develop this invisible demon that's taken over our world right now. And it's starting to hit home. And you're starting to wonder, oh my gosh, right? Where do you place your mind right now? I'm going to pause right there. Where do you place your mind as it pertains to, is there a possibility of me having this? Is there a possibility of me not having this? And if I do have it, where's my mental thought process right now? If you do have it, all right, the one thing I'm going to encourage you to do, and this doesn't go just for the coronavirus, this also goes for anyone that might have gone through some form of cancer treatment, and they don't understand what the outcome of their life is going to be. So what does that person do? They have two choices. Either they're going to sit there and worry about the whole situation, or they're going to place their mind in a space that's going to create healing for the body. Like I said, guys, it's easier said than done, but you have to make a conscious effort, right, to now place your faith in God, in Jesus, and say, listen, I rebuke this in the name of Jesus. This will not take over my space, all right? So what happens now is that great area that you've placed yourself in is going to automatically start to heal the body. And it's going to start from a mental piece down to the physical piece. It's known fact. This has happened. So I'm going to encourage you that if you're a warrior, remove yourself from the space that you're in. All right? Stop creating illusions and things in your mind about situations, making it look so dark and dismal, as though this is what is happening on the other side of the line, right? place your thought in a position that's going to allow things to now, great things to be attracted to you, and you're going to create the healing in the space that you're in the space that you're in, right? But make sure the space you're in is a positive space. Now, how do you distinguish between Bridget? Is it Bridget? Miss Hanson. I don't like messing up people's name, and it's just not a good thing. Welcome. Thank you for joining. So how do you distinguish between solvable and unsolvable worries? Research shows while you're worrying, you temporarily feel less anxious. Is that true? Research shows while you're worrying, you feel less anxious. Is it because you're preoccupying your mind with other thought process, so you don't have too much, your body doesn't have too much chance feeling the rapid heart rate? I don't know about that research. I wanted to share what the research said, but all right. So reviewing the concerns in your mind, what does that do? It distracts you from your emotions. It makes you feel like you're getting something accomplished. So by reviewing the thoughts in your mind, reviewing and just replaying it over and over and over again in your mind, is that actually resolving the situation? Now, here is what I'm going to lead into that I want to talk about. And then in the end, I'm going to give you some solutions, all right? Because maybe you don't have some of the right answers. I'm not saying that I necessarily have the right answers either, but there are suggestions I'm going to make, and you can see whether or not it works best for you, right? So problem solving involves evaluating a situation, right? When you problem solve. Listen, there's a difference. I didn't say worry. I said when you problem solve. First of all, you have to identify what the problem is, and then identify if there is a problem. Some people go through life and they're involved in something, all right? They don't like the situation that they're in, right? But they expect it to solve itself by osmosis. But they're not putting the effort into it. They're not putting the time into it. And they're not reevaluating where they're coming from and taking full responsibility for their own actions. What the tendency is for people to do is blame and point someone else. You know what they say about pointing one finger? When you're pointing one finger, you have three turning back to you, right? So the concern that is happening during a lot of problem solving phases, and it comes in many regards, is that the person or people or family or friends or whatever the case is, they don't necessarily look at what it is that they're going through. They're always blaming someone else, right? And I said yesterday that no one is to be blamed for any kind of things that you are doing, right? You ever hear somebody say sometimes, oh, they made me do it. She made me do it. Nobody don't make you do nothing, right? You have your own free will, and that's just the benefit of what God allows us. God gives us the free will, the reins to do whatever we feel that we need to do, right? But it doesn't mean taking it and taking full advantage of people, abusing people's emotion, right? Being so selfish that you're not taking into consideration the thoughts and the needs of others that are around you. It's always me, me, me. What can I get? The prime example is that the fact that everybody went and grabbed toilet tissue off of the supermarket shelves and they leave the produce section full. So what does that tell you, right? There's nothing here about nutritional balancing. There's something here about, I'm going to hoard everything because it's all about me. It's all about what I have. So what happens now when you have those people at home with 50 billion toilet paper in their bathroom and no food in their pantry? What happens when they have 50 million toilet paper at home and you have someone else in need right now but can't find any stores that have it? If that's not a selfish act, I don't know what else is, right? So worrying and problem solving is two different things. If you're going to try to identify whatever it is that you're going through and try to curtail it and resolve it, you have to first identify whatever the issue is, right? And then you have to come up with some solutions that's going to help you solve the problem. Sometimes you need some assistance with that. You can't necessarily do it on your own. And one good example of that is when I spoke on the topic of relationships. And I told you guys that so many times people are having marital problems and they go pay a counselor to tell them something they already know. And the two of them sit there and they fuss over and the counselor's in the middle looking at the two of them like they're two dundas, because it's the counselors basically laughing, saying, you guys already have the answer. Why do you need me here? But they leave the office and they go home and they do the same exact thing, and they put up a facade like everything is good. And in fact, it's not, because they're wanting it to just take care of itself without actually putting the physical work in and getting it done. But I tell you one thing, what this time off is allowing a whole lot of relationships right now is for people to be forced to face each other and deal with problems that they're having. So problem solving, guys, is basically evaluating the situation. What is it that's going on? What's been lingering? What's been going on for a while that I need to get resolved? And how can I do this, right? It's not about sitting there and just worrying, because you can sit there and worry and sleep for 10, 15, 20 hours because you place yourself in such a mode that you're worrying yourself beneath the mattress, right? So it's getting up, sitting at your desk, getting a strategy put together to find a problem, coming up with a concrete step for basically dealing with it, putting a plan in action. Many lives that I've spoke on, which is many, because this is my life, 458 days of doing this straight in 2019. If this is your first time joining me, I've been speaking every day from January 1st of 2019. And on many occasions, I have shown you guys how to create a SMART plan. And a SMART plan can be addressed and used in any circumstances. It can be used in relationships. It can be used in money management. It can be used in handling your children. And I showed you the equation on using a SMART goal to be able to identify what those key breakdowns are that's going to allow you to get to a solution, right? So problem solving allows you to basically get concrete steps that's going to come up with a resolution so you don't worry, all right? So no matter how much time you spend dwelling or thinking about the worst case scenario, oh my gosh, what if this is me? What if this happened? What if this happened here? All you're doing is putting yourself under. So relax, all right? And take some good measures to get you out of that. So here's some solutions. I don't like to talk about things and not necessarily give some solutions to things. So here we go. All right. So excessive worrying, this is just some solutions for excessive worrying, some strategies that you can maybe put into effect that's going to help you. But remember, I can tell you this all day long. Unless you're actually placing them in action, it's not going to serve you any purpose. All right. You can listen to me all day long. If you don't put it in action, it's not going to work. It's quite like going to school. You go to school, you listen to the teacher, you get all the information you're supposed to in the education. She give you homework and you don't go home. You go home and you don't do the homework, but you come to class next day and you're wondering, why is everybody getting smarter around you and you're not? That's because you didn't put anything in action, right? So the first thing is, when it comes to worrying, these are just a couple of solutions. You can take it, you can try it. Maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe this is not for you, this life. Maybe this is for someone in your circle. But it's going to be up to you to share this live with them. So the first one is acknowledge the fear. If you're going through any kind of moments right now where you are a constant worrier or someone that regularly never look at the positive side of things, I'm going to encourage you to acknowledge the fear, right? The second thing is refrain from any kind of unrealistic thoughts. Remember, sometimes these demons, they come as an illusion. And when I say demons also come in the form of a person, all right? Many times you're placed in circle with people and you look at them and your head cocked to the side wondering, did they just say exactly what I thought they said? Or was there action to something that I said done deliberately? Or is this something that's working through them? I don't know if you know this, guys, but people are walking around with demonic spirits in their body. Be on call, all right? You need to pray and ask the Lord to give you discernments to be able to identify these things when they're happening. And a lot of times, and these are things I've spoken about in my lives previously as well, your intuition is your second gut. And your intuition a lot of times is going to tell you something that's right or wrong. Where the problem takes place is when we don't listen to that gut, because the gut always steers us right. But we oftentimes question it and say, nah, maybe not now, maybe next month, maybe, And then we find out when we go to the situation, we say to ourselves, oh my goodness, I should have listened. I really felt the nudge, but the nudge, I didn't think anything of it, but I should have went that route. I should have went down that road, right? Another one is, yes, Wanda, I like that. Just breathe. That's my whole thing. So great point. So the next one is engaging in problem solving. Really understanding how to identify issues and solve the problems effectively. I have to tell you that when individuals are not aware of how to properly go through a problem-solving situation, what they do, and I'm going to tell you this because this is just so funny to me, they cut other people off at the knees, right? They get offended. You'll notice they get very offended very easily. And when you ask them, ask them specifically to give you a plan of action as to why it is that they want you to do what they want you to do, they will not have an answer for you, and they will get very easily offended. That is someone, guys, that you really want to be on caution for, because they could be very manipulative, very controlling, okay? And they're very selfish, and they want everything for themselves. They don't want to see you succeed. So instead of coming up with a resolution, they just cut you off. So be very, very conscious of that. Calm your body, just keeping your body and mind in a calm space. And I spoke a couple lives ago, and I've posted some things that talks about the peace of God. It surpasses all understanding. When you see someone that is extremely calm, and whatever frantically is going on around them, and it doesn't shake and doesn't move them, that's just the peace of God that they have. And that's something that I'm going to speak for myself. That's something I can't explain. That's something I can't just put in a training program and explain to you how that works. You have to have a relationship with God. You have to have a relationship with God. You have to have just a really tight relationship where you're understanding that no matter what is going on around you, your peaceful space will never be shaken, because that's just something that God gives you, and it can't be explained. All right. Just a couple more. Practice mindfulness. There's this practice mindfulness word. When I say mindfulness, I'm speaking more in terms of breath work. You really need to become more engaged in the proper breath work. All right. Breath work is an art. All right. There's a particular way to get it done. It's not something that you're just going to understand overnight. It takes practice. It takes, first of all, understanding what the body is going through when you have the proper breath work. And it also takes practice. You have to put it in action. But here is the concern I have for many of you. Many of you do not understand how to find something, and when it's working for you, to stick with it. You often jump from one pot to the frying pan to the kettle, and you never stay put. You have to learn how to be consistent in many things that you do in your life. All right? People do not understand how they'll start one thing here, and next thing you know, they're off on another tangent. And so they're all over the place, and nothing is working for them, and I wonder why. Try to become more consistent, right? Set aside time to make this happen, because if you're going to do any kind of breath work, you have to have a space. I spoke several lives ago again on these things. I taught you how to create a space for meditation. I taught you how to create space for practicing any kind of mind exercises. And all of my lives are labeled, so you can go back and just check out any one of those lives that you want at your own leisure. And then the last thing is try to do something that's different. A lot of times when you shake up things in your life, it actually it calls for a different flow of practice that you have from one day to the next. And when you shake things up a little bit, it gives you a little bit more excitement. It gives you a different insight and a different objective of how to see things differently. A great example of that, guys, that I've been an instructor, physical fitness trainer for many years. And so one of the things that a lot of people don't understand when they come to work out is that they do the same thing over and over again. And that's the definition of insanity. You're doing the same things constantly. But then you're looking at yourself and going, oh my gosh, how come things haven't changed, right? You have to change things up so that the body recognizes something different. So it starts to reroute and fix and position and cure things in a whole different light. Try it and see how that works. I promise you it does work, right? So that's pretty much all I had for you today. As if that's not enough, I know the last 2 days my lives went longer than it normally does. But if you have been on and you are staying on and you did not drop off this line, that tells me that you have some form of interest in, not me, but some form of interest in curtailing some things that are going on in your life right now and finding a different and a more positive way of dealing with them. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you for being patient with yourself. I applaud you for trying to find a different avenue, a different route, a different street on how to fix some of these things that are going on in your life. So if you liked what you heard today, I'm going to encourage you to first, don't give me the thumbs up. The thumbs up is so dry, guys. I know sometimes Facebook doesn't allow you to do anything different. Give me some hearts. Give me something a little bit more warming, all right? And the second thing is comment. Wanda, you've been doing a fantastic job, you and Kim and everyone else that's on tonight, of commenting. People often listen, but when they're listening and not responding, I question that. I just wonder how much of this information they're actually retrieving and absorbing in their thought process, right? So place comments in the notes. Make sure you're thinking before you place comments in your notes. Sometimes people don't think, they just start to type, and I will respond accordingly, as you guys know. But share this live with someone that's in your circle that could use these words of wisdom right now. This, by far, is the most important times that people are going to need to hear the words that I just spoke on today. And if you are hoarding my life like toilet tissue and not sharing it with someone else, you're doing them an injustice, right? So the last thing is, if you're interested in learning more about me, and if you don't know who I am your transformation, holistic, and wellness coach. And so my purpose is to teach individuals how to eat correctly, how to exercise, how to shift your mind process into a better space to create that wholeness, hence my name, holistic well-being. How to become whole in your body and not just take your life in segmented piece, right? In parts, how to be a whole person. And that comes with many things. And those are the things that I train and I coach on. So if you like what you heard today, visit my website. It's holisticwellbeing.com, and it's spelled WHOLELISTIC wellbeing.com. And there you can find out why I'm so passionate about what I do. Click on the About section when you go on my website. I have a very short bio there about the things that I've done, all the education that I've had over the past 30 years, and why I feel like a lot of the things that I'm saying and sharing with you are sound information. All right, guys. So that's all I had for you. This is my day 458 of doing these lives. Let me just do some acknowledgement here before I come off the air. And if you've joined my live after and you've watched the live all the way through, not just part way, all the way through, then you can type replay, and also feel free to comment as well. All right. So Wanda, thank you so much for your participation today. That really means a lot. Okino, it's wonderful to see you here. Blessings to you. I loved how Wanda was responding to all of those first negative emotions that I mentioned. Angie, great to see you. Thank you for being on. Kim, thank you all for your feedback and for being on as well. Miss Hanson, thank you for being on. Miss Carol, thank you so much for being on. Who else do I have here? There's no way around it. Got to do the spiritual work. Yes, ma'am. Yes, and more yes. That doesn't sound logical, Miss Wanda. Okay, so thank you all for your feedback. That's all I have for you. As if that's not enough, I pray that you guys just stay in prayer right now. Keep your family safe, but stay in prayer. I'm gonna encourage you guys to understand that God never puts us in a space and never sees things coming way before it actually comes. So be encouraged. Stay in prayer. All right, stay in prayer. And you'll find that the things that are happening around you will not move you, because only God is in control of this entire situation. I love you guys. If no one told you that they cared, please stay safe, make the right decisions. And until I see you back tomorrow, just have a blessed evening. Ciao. Take care.